For a show that has existed for almost 60 years, it's pretty much impossible for Doctor Who not to regularly bump into its own past. While some of these moments ring out like the cloister bell on the eve of universal destruction, others have much subtler meanings that you might not have realised. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie with Who Culture, here with 10 Doctor Who moments deeper than you think. Number 10. Sontarens or Sonterrens. It's fairly on brand for Donna Noble to mispronounce the name of one of the Doctor's alien foes. However, the way Donna pronounces Sontaren is also a deep-cut reference to the making of the Jon Pertwee classic The Time Warrior. As detailed by Elizabeth Sladen in her posthumously published autobiography, Sontaran actor Kevin Lindsay decided that it should be pronounced with the emphasis on the tar, Sontarren. Director Alan Bromley disagreed, believing that it should be pronounced Sonterren. Lindsay responded, "Well, I think it's Sontarren. I come from the effing place, so I should know." And thus, a classic Doctor Who monster was born. The 10th Doctor and Donna reignited this debate in the Sontarren Stratagem and the Poison Sky, albeit in a more PG fashion. When Donna's trapped inside the TARDIS on board a Sontarren ship, the Doctor calls her to give her advice on how to fight her way to the teleporter. "But there's Sonterrens out there," she exclaims, in objection to the Doctor's plan. She's understandably daunted by the prospect, so the Doctor doesn't tell her, "It's Sontarren, I fought them a bunch of times, so I should effing know." Although, can you imagine how great the episode would have been if he did do that? Number 9. The Doctor and the Master are brothers? In Series 3 opener Smith and Jones, trainee Doctor Martha Jones asks her patient, John Smith, if he has a brother, to which the 10th Doctor replies, "Nope, not anymore." Fast forward to the sound of drums, and while discussing what went wrong between the Doctor and the Master, Martha says, "I thought you were going to say he was your secret brother or something." There's an awkward silence before the Doctor derisively replies, "You've been watching too much TV." Not only was this Russell T Davies's response to a popular fan theory he found quite silly, it also links back to the 2 times that Doctor Who tried to make the Doctor and the Master secret brothers. Before the sad death of Roger Delgado, a potential final confrontation between the 3rd Doctor and the Master would have revealed one of 2 things. Either the Master was the embodiment of the Doctor's darkest impulses, or he was his evil brother. Then, in Planet of Fire, when the Master is about to be killed, he implores the 5th Doctor to show mercy to your own before being cut off. Director Fiona Cumming asked producer John Nathan Turner for clarification and was told that the line would have ended with brother. Clearly, Doctor Who writers in the 70s and 80s watched too much TV. Number 8. Blasphemy of the Daleks. When Doctor Who returned in 2005, Russell T Davies snuck in a meta gag about the Doctor's last TV adventure. At the start of the Parting of the Ways, the 9th Doctor discovers the true nature of the game station, to provide human bodies to turn into Dalek mutants. Shocked and horrified, Rose blurts out, "That makes them half-human," and is met by a cacophony of Dalek voices ordering her not to blaspheme. It's obviously a reference to the Dalek Emperor's lauded status as a saviour of his species after the Time War. However, it's also a loaded reference to the controversial change to the Doctor's origins in the 1996 Paul McGann TV movie. As depicted in the 2022 documentary Doctor Who Am I, fans were furious about the revelation that the Doctor was half-human on his mother's side. The angry response at conventions, fan clubs and fanzines characterised this as nothing short of blasphemy. It's no surprise that RTD snuck in this joke, given that he would go on to write Love and Monsters, which is a spot-on portrayal of Doctor Who fandom in the wilderness years between 1989 and 2005. Number 7. The Leftover Squareness Gun. When Stephen Moffat introduced River Song, aka the best character, in Silence in the Library, there were wild theories over who she actually was, as if the mere revelation that the Doctor had a canonical wife wasn't enough. The space archaeologist had a lot of similar tech to Captain Jack Harkness throughout her Doctor Who appearances, including a vortex manipulator. While being attacked by the Vashta Narada, River produces a squareness gun which allows everyone to escape through a gap in the wall. This was similar to how Captain Jack helped the 9th Doctor and Rose escape the gas mask zombies in the Doctor Dances. Did this mean that River was actually Jack? No, it meant that because the TARDIS flew off and left the resurrected Jack behind on the game station, that all of his staff was still on board. When Jack and the Doctor did reunite, he didn't even get in through the door, forced to cling on for dear life or lives instead. So at some point in the future, perhaps while travelling with the 11th Doctor, River borrowed Jack's squareness gun, just in case it ever became useful, and just so happened to forget to return it. Number 6. Where on earth is Gallifrey? Say what you like about Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children, but the scenes in the Irish village are a masterful payoff to a long-running joke. And like all good jokes, it has layers to it. In both The Hand of Fear and The Invisible Enemy, bemused Doctor Who characters have responded to the mention of Gallifrey with the mistaken belief that it's in Ireland. This joke was also included in the 10th Doctor story Human Nature and the Family of Blood, in which Joan Redfern asks if Gallifrey is in Ireland. Fast forward to 2020 and Ascension of the Cybermen featured a subplot about a young Irish policeman called Brendan who appeared to be immortal. There's a clock, people who don't age, and of course it was actually Gallifrey. Was it ever really in doubt? The fact that the Matrix chose to hide the Doctor's memories inside a cosy Irish village is funny enough. However, it's even funnier that the Time Lords themselves are perpetuating the long-standing myth that Gallifrey is just a sleepy, unassuming village in Ireland. Number 5. Fear makes companions of us all. Clara's speech to the young Doctor in Listen is a beautiful meditation on how we respond to fear. Do we run away? Do we stand and fight? It's essentially a speech that drills down to the core message of Doctor Who, so much so that it borrows a line from the very first Doctor Who serial way back in 1963, or does it inspire it? In typically wibbly-wobbly, moffety-woffety fashion, Clara tells the child a reassuring story to lull him back to sleep. She tells him that fear makes companions of us all. In doing so, she accidentally influences the first Doctor, who uses almost the exact same words to reassure one of Clara's Coal Hill School predecessors. After kidnapping Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright and dragging them back to the Stone Age, the Doctor is forced to trust the two humans of whom he was previously suspicious. When Barbara expresses surprise at the Doctor's willingness to help them escape, he replies that fear makes companions of all of us. Wise words indeed, Doctor. Number 4. Amy Pond's dropped ice cream. The Stephen Moffat era is full of short extra scenes that add layers of understanding to his overarching storylines. For Doctor Who Series 6, he wrote several of these shorts under the banner Night and the Doctor, which were designed to show what the 11th Doctor got up to while Amy and Rory were in bed. To sum up, he goes on a bunch of dates with their daughter, River Song. One of these shorts, Good Night, sees the Doctor return from a date to find Amy struggling to sleep. They discuss how having the epicenter of a cataclysmic temporal event in your childhood bedroom can lead to some very confusing memories. To center Amy, the Doctor tries to remind her of her saddest childhood memory. Did I drop an ice cream? That can't be my saddest memory, she muses. Remembering ice cream's always sad, the Doctor responds. The fact that the Doctor says remembering rather than dropping is key to the hidden meaning of this exchange. In Moffat's Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead, the last words of poor Miss Evangelista are ice cream, which is often mistaken for I scream. See? Remembering ice cream is sad, and now we've all got that sad scene in our heads. Number 3. The destruction of the Zygon homeworld. In 1975's Terror of the Zygons, the titular alien species sought a new home after their own planet had been destroyed. With 2013's The Day of the Doctor, the first episode of the modern series to feature the Zygons, revealing that said homeworld was destroyed during the early days of the Time War. This isn't a surprise, as many species, including the Gelth, lost their homes during the Great War between the Daleks and the Time Lords. However, what makes the Zygons' case interesting is that reference to the early days of the Time War. Russell T Davies previously stated that the Time War began when the 4th Doctor was sent to avert the creation of the Daleks. This classic Tom Baker serial, Genesis of the Daleks, concluded in April 1975, 4 months after the Time Lords fired this first shot of the Time War and the Zygons were seeking a new home. That's because Terror of the Zygons aired in August 1975. I mean, it doesn't get more early days of the Time War than that, does it? Number 2. Fixin' Mixin' Rixton Brixton. As Donna's brain begins to buckle under the weight of the Doctor's knowledge, she starts babbling about how to fix the chameleon circuit, famous Charlies, and rattles off a selection of similar sounding words. Fiction, friction, fixin', mixin', Rixton Brixton. Try saying that 10 times fast. It's extremely easy to miss because of how fast Donna speaks, but what of those words has a deeper meaning you might have missed? Rixton actually appeared in the 2007 Christmas special Voyage of the Damned. He was a cruel and selfish narcissist who escaped the disaster of the Titanic completely unscathed, while good people like Astrid Peth gave their lives to save others. During the pandemic tweet-along for The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, Russell T Davies revealed that Donna's reference to Rixton was to emphasise the tragedy of her story. story. RTD described Brixton as a bad man who survived, bad thoughts in the Dr. Donna's head. In other words, Donna's head is full of negative thoughts that will eventually consume her. This also hints at something the Doctor has always known, that sometimes the wrong people survive. The 12th Doctor says as much in Flatline when Fenton, the prejudiced and callous probation officer, survives his encounter with the Boneless. Sadly, good people like Donna are sometimes punished for trying to be heroes, so let's hope RTD will finally give the Dr. Donna her reward in the 60th anniversary specials. Number 1. Floor 507. In The Doctor Falls, the 12th Doctor makes his last stand on floor 507 of the colony ship besieged by Cybermen. This ship is absolutely huge, so surely floor 507 was a random number selected by writer Stephen Moffat, right? Wrong. Moffat once stated that every writer has a specific number they fall back on when they need to exaggerate something. Being very familiar with the work of his predecessor Russell T Davies, Moffat identified that RTD's favourite exaggeration number was 57. He's not wrong either. In Army of Ghosts, the 10th Doctor pretends that Jackie Tyler is actually Rose, saying that she aged 57 years after staring into the time vortex. And that's just one of several uses of the number 57 in RTD's Doctor Who. Moffat admitted that floor 507 was a tribute to RTD's love of that number, but this wasn't the first time he'd used it in a 12th Doctor adventure. Page 57 was used in Last Christmas to convince the inhabitants of the North Pole base that they were still dreaming. Deeper still, 507 is the number that the 11th Doctor gave Clyde Langer in the Sarah Jane Adventures when asked how many times a Time Lord could regenerate. So, floor 507 was an appropriate location for the 12th Doctor's apparent death. And that concludes our list. If you think we missed any really obvious examples, then please do let us know down in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss a Who Culture video ever again. Also, head over to Twitter, Instagram and TikTok to follow us there. I've been Ellie with Who Culture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.